going to carry on with this particular theme of looking into the light or painting contre-chair, which is what we've been looking at this month. Last week I carried on this a little bit with this demonstration. So this is using more mixable oils, and there's still more work to do, but I feel like I don't think there's too much more I can demonstrate. So I wouldn't mind working that one up a little bit and finishing that off at home. That's that one. This was a pretty quick demo I did on my Thursday class, so this was using acrylics. So that one's water mixable oil, this one's acrylics. Well, this is what I've just started this morning in acrylics. I decided to use paper just because I didn't have a board ready, but it's actually this acrylic paper and it just seems to cockle up quite a bit, so it's not an ideal surface. Plus it seems very, very absorbent. So acrylics I do find, to be a bit of a challenge at times. One of the problems I found is blending colours. So this little demo here is really to do with trying to get the colours to blend. What I sometimes do is use this painting medium and paint a little bit. If I've got colours that are dry already, sometimes I'll just paint a little bit this on. If there's an area that, say I want to blend into this purpley colour, and just get a softer blend. It's not exactly blending, it's more like a glazed effect, but it's a way that I can get maybe one colour to soften into another one. So I could then get the red to almost sort of glaze over and into that. Maybe make that a little bit stronger. So getting a softer transition in areas that I want it to look a little bit softer. So that might be useful to some of you. Might find that useful. This one, so I thought, again, it's the same sort of thing. Looking to the light source is up here, and started this as a demo this morning. The other thing I wanted to look at, or I thought might be quite interesting to talk about. I've got a musical accompaniment from somewhere. A couple of weeks ago, I did a little bit of a refresher on colour mixing using primary colours. So using a couple of the yellows, a couple of the reds, and a couple of the blues. And then I've also got this, I've been using this book from time to time for this particular project. And one thing, when I read this book last year, one of the things I noticed was her palette is a little bit different to the kind of colours that I use. So I thought that might be quite interesting to try. So she uses basically one of the primaries, a yellow, red and a blue, but she also uses secondary colours a bit more than I do. She doesn't seem to have any browns or blacks in the mix. So I thought that might be quite an interesting challenge. And I'm quite interested in trying different ways of painting. Perhaps a limited palette can often encourage you to mix colours in a way that you wouldn't have done if you were just relying on browns or blacks in with your mix. So I thought with this one, obviously it's mostly greys, but to perhaps create some colours that are, greys but mixed out with primaries and the secondary colours. So that's the idea behind having a go at this. So I'm thinking this sort of colour here, I haven't really popped that bit in yet. It's sort of like a greeny blue, so perhaps use a little bit of the green I've got here, a little bit of phthalo green and some white, tiny bit of ultramarine blue. And there's a little bit of red gone in there too, so that could be the fountain area could be sort of here. A little bit of white in there. So, working in that way, I can get, it's a whole load of greys, but they've got hints of colour in them, which makes it, to my mind, makes them much more interesting and lively. So that would be some of the water, the colour of the water. And then this bit surrounding it, around where the light is, it's quite a lot lighter there than it is just here. And that often helps to sort of notice, if you're painting a particular structure like a wall, notice some of the colours on the left-hand side, the top and the bottom. You'll find that they vary quite a bit. So don't just sort of think, well, the wall is this colour and pick one colour. Try and see the differences. So perhaps at the start of this, I'll use this purpley grey mix and add a little bit of an orangey colour in. And again, there's a lot of light here, so that orangey colour will help to give that sort of light. It wants to be a bit rounder than I've got it. And then as we move further along, that will get a little bit darker. A bit more purple. Just kind of soften that out, go for a darker mix. And it's the same with the people, where there's a very strong light source, sort of here, and a lot of reflected light, they appear lighter in tone. And it may be just an effect of the camera, but it's a way of conveying an impression of light. So I'm just going to lighten up this grey, just perhaps add another couple of people in here. I could sketch them out, but I think really they're not too. At that distance, I can just sort of use the brush, suggest something with the brush. The figures and their shadow, their shadows are going a little bit in this direction. And then as we move further out, they're a little bit darker, so I can go in with a darker mix. So somebody over here, for instance, is quite a bit darker. Could be a bit more like that. And then his shadow, consequently, will be darker. Does that all make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, something to play around with. So as I say, this is the last week on this particular project. The project for March is portraits. So I'll do a little bit. We could do a bit on portraits. So I'll start off next week with some sort of drawing exercise. What might be quite nice actually, if you bring sketchbooks and we could do some quick sketches of each other in the class, maybe for 10 minutes, and then going for a painting out of that.
You won't get much in 10 minutes.
So, sorry?
You won't get much in 10 minutes.
No, well, quick sketches. 15, then perhaps stretch it out.
They're not here.
A little quick go. So yeah, that's the theme. So if you've got some sort of image that you want to work from, so it needs to be a reasonable size, fairly clear image. And I'll try and keep it, a fairly relaxed expression. I wouldn't go for somebody smiling, for instance, because it's going to make it more difficult. Particularly if the tooth is showing, I'll go for something sort of fairly relaxed expression. And a good size image, don't make it too tiny or too blurry. So yeah, if you fancy that as a project, that's what we'll start next week.